What if the business you poured your heart into for decades started crumbling right under your nose and you had no idea why? Imagine being John Matthews, the CEO of Matthews Auto Repairs, a trusted name in auto repair across the city, only to wake up one day to a flood of complaints about terrible service at one of your own branches. But instead of relying on reports or managers, John did something unthinkable. He disguised himself as an ordinary customer to uncover the raw, unfiltered truth. What he found wasn't just bad service, it was a betrayal of everything he stood for. Stick around for a roller coaster of a story filled with deception, heartbreak, and a fight for redemption that'll leave you questioning, how well do you really know the people you trust? Hit that play button, because this is one journey you won't want to miss. John Matthews wasn't born with a silver spoon. At 25, he was just another mechanic in a grimy garage, dreaming of a better way to serve customers tired of being ripped off. With a small loan from his father and an unyielding belief in honesty, he opened the first Matthews Auto Repairs in a quiet neighborhood in 1998. His motto was simple: treat every customer like family, no matter their car or their cash. That ethos, combined with fair pricing and quality work, turned his single shop into a citywide chain of 10 branches by 2025, employing over 150 mechanics and staff. John, now 55 with graying hair and a quiet intensity, had become a local legend of sorts, often seen shaking hands with customers or mentoring young mechanics. He'd tell his team, "A handshake means as much as a wrench. We fix cars, but we build trust." Matthews Auto Repairs boasted a 4.8-star average online, a testament to decades of integrity. But in early 2025, cracks began to show. Branch number 7, located in a busy downtown area, became a black mark on the company's reputation. Over 3 months, John's inbox filled with complaints: rude staff, inflated bills, botched repairs. Online reviews for branch number 7 tanked to a dismal 2.3 stars, with one customer writing, "I wouldn't trust them to fix a toy car after how I was treated." Revenue at the branch dropped 20% in 6 months, a stark contrast to the steady growth elsewhere. John initially chalked it up to isolated incidents. He trusted his branch managers, especially Derek, the 29-year-old in charge of branch number 7, who'd been with the company for 5 years and always submitted reports showing business as usual. But the complaints didn't stop, and John's gut told him something was deeply wrong. Sitting in his office poring over numbers wouldn't reveal the truth. He needed to see it with his own eyes, through the lens of a customer with no power or privilege. On a chilly Tuesday morning in March 2025, John transformed himself into someone unrecognizable. He ditched his tailored suits for a faded flannel shirt, worn jeans, and a scuffed baseball cap pulled low over his forehead. A pair of cheap fake glasses obscured his sharp eyes, and he even smeared a bit of dirt on his hands to sell the image of a down-on-his-luck everyman. Borrowing a beat-up 2005 Honda Civic from a friend complete with a dented fender and a rattling engine, John drove to branch number 7, his pulse quickening with anticipation and dread. Today, he wasn't the CEO. He was Jim, a regular guy strapped for cash, desperate for a quick fix. As he pulled into the parking lot, he noticed the neglect immediately. Oil stains marred the pavement, a trash bin near the entrance overflowed with garbage, and a faded sign hung crookedly. This wasn't the polished standard he'd set for Matthews Auto Repairs. Already, alarm bells rang in his mind. Stepping out of the car, John O'Jim approached the open garage bay. Inside, 3 mechanics were visible. 2 lounged against a workbench, laughing over something on a phone, while a third tinkered half-heartedly with a car on a lift. No one acknowledged him, not even a glance. He walked to the front desk, where a young man with a name tag reading Derek slouched in a chair, scrolling through social media. John cleared his throat and spoke in a polite, slightly anxious tone. "Excuse me, I've got a problem with my car. There's a weird noise coming from the engine. Can someone take a look?" Derek didn't even lift his eyes from the screen, muttering, "Yeah, we're busy. Come back later." John blinked, stunned. He glanced around. Only 2 cars sat in the shop, and half the staff looked idle. Busy? That was a blatant lie. Keeping his composure, John tried again. "I don't mind waiting if someone can just check it out quick. Might be something small." Derek sighed dramatically, tossed his phone onto the counter with a loud clatter, and sneered, "I told you, we're busy. No appointment, no service. Wait or leave. Your call." John's stomach twisted. This wasn't just poor service. It was outright hostility, a slap in the face to everything he'd built. He decided to push further, testing the limits. "Look, I'm in a real bind. Can't afford a big repair right now. Just need a rough idea of what's wrong." Derek smirked, leaning back with a condescending air, and snapped, "We don't do free advice here, old man. Pay for a diagnostic or hit the road. Next." There was no one else waiting, but the dismissal stung like a personal attack. John felt a surge of anger, but also profound sadness. This behavior wasn't just losing customers, it was shredding his legacy. Just as he turned to leave, an older mechanic with gray streaks in his hair and a name tag reading Carl emerged from the garage bay, wiping his hands on a rag. Had clearly overheard the exchange and approached with a calm, steady demeanor. "Sir, what's the issue with your car?" he asked. John, still playing Jim, described the engine noise, adding a touch of worry for authenticity. Carl nodded thoughtfully and said, "Let me pop the hood and take a look. Won't take but a minute." Derek rolled his eyes and muttered under his breath, "Total waste of time," but Carl ignored him, grabbing a flashlight and a wrench. As Carl worked, John struck up a subtle conversation, asking, "How's it like working here? Seems like a hectic spot." Carl hesitated, glancing toward Derek, then lowered his voice. "It's been tough lately. Some of the crew don't care about customers. The boss isn't around much, so a few think they can do whatever. I try to do right, but it's an uphill battle when the vibe's off." John nodded, his heart sinking deeper. Carl was a rare gem in a tarnished setting, but the toxic culture at branch number 7 was undeniable. After a few minutes, Carl identified a loose belt, a minor fix that wouldn't break the bank. "Bring it back if it gets worse, but this'll hold for now," he said with a kind smile. John thanked him warmly, paid a small fee for the check, and drove off, his mind racing. What he'd witnessed wasn't a fluke, it was a systemic failure. Derek's arrogance, the staff's indifference, the neglected shop, all pointed to a rot that had taken hold. Carl's words about absent leadership cut deep. John knew he bore some responsibility for not keeping a closer eye on this branch. That night, as he shed the disguise in his quiet home office, he stared at a framed photo of himself and his father outside the first garage. "I am sorry, Dad," he whispered. "I let this slip, but I'm fixing it starting tomorrow." The truth was exposed. Now it was time for reckoning. The next morning, John returned to branch number 7, but this time as himself. Dressed in a sharp navy suit, his presence commanded the room the moment he stepped through the door. The mechanics in the bay froze mid-conversation, tools clattering to the ground. Derek, once again on his phone at the desk, looked up with a start, his face draining of color as he stammered, "Mr. Matthews, sir, I didn't know you were stopping by." John's expression was stone cold, though his voice remained measured. "Gather everyone in the break room, now. We have a lot to discuss." Derek scrambled to comply, his earlier bravado replaced by visible panic. Within 10 minutes, the entire staff of branch number 712 employees, including mechanics, desk staff, and a part-time cleaner, crowded into the cramped break room. John stood at the front, his gaze sweeping over the group. Some looked curious, others uneasy. Carl, near the back, gave a small nod of respect. John took a deep breath and began, his voice steady but laced with disappointment. "Yesterday, I visited this branch not as your CEO, but as a customer. I called myself Jim. I wore old clothes, drove a beat-up car, and asked for help with a simple engine issue. What I experienced was not the Matthews auto repairs I spent decades building. I was dismissed, insulted, and made to feel worthless. And I know I'm not alone. Our customers have been saying the same for months through complaints and reviews. This ends today. The room fell silent, tension thick as fog. Derek shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact, while others exchanged nervous glances. John continued, I saw laziness, I saw disrespect, but I also saw someone who cared. Carl, you stepped up when no one else did. You treated me, a stranger, with dignity, and I commend you for upholding what this company stands for. Carl's face softened with surprise and gratitude. Then John turned to Derek, his tone firm but controlled. Derek, your behavior yesterday was unacceptable. You turned away a customer, me without a second thought. You set a tone of indifference that others follow. I'm giving you a final warning. Starting today, you're under Carl's supervision, and I expect a complete turnaround. If I hear of another incident, you're gone. This applies to everyone. Mistreat a customer, and there will be immediate consequences, no exceptions. John paused, letting his words sink in, then outlined his plan. Branch number 7 is under stricter oversight now. He'll be reviewing operations here weekly, personally. Every employee will undergo mandatory customer service training next month, paid by the company. We're also implementing a new feedback system. Customers can rate their experience directly through a QR code at the desk, and those ratings will impact performance reviews. I'm not here to punish. I'm here to rebuild. Matthews Auto Repairs grew because we put people first, whether they drive a rusty sedan or a luxury SUV. We've lost that here, but we're reclaiming it starting now. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, some nodding, others looking relieved at the chance to improve. Derek, still pale, muttered a quiet, "Understood, sir." John ended the meeting with a final note. "I'm watching. Prove to me and to our customers that you belong here." Over the next few weeks, John kept his promise, making unannounced visits to branch number 7 to monitor progress. He saw immediate, if uneven, changes. The parking lot was swept clean, trash bins emptied daily. Inside, the garage bays were organized, tools no longer strewn about haphazardly. Derek, under Carl's watchful eye, adopted a more professional demeanor, greeting customers with a forced but improving politeness. John hired a new assistant manager, Maria, a woman in her 40s with a background in hospitality, to support Carl and ensure standards stayed high. The customer service training, rolled out company-wide, emphasized empathy and problem-solving, with role-playing scenarios that forced staff to confront biases about important versus ordinary clients. One incident during this period highlighted the slow but real progress. 3 weeks after the meeting, a single mother named Lisa brought her aging minivan to branch number 7, worried about a grinding noise in the brakes. She looked exhausted, explaining to Carl that she couldn't afford a major repair but needed the car for her kid's school run. Derek, overhearing, started to brush her off with a curt, "Well, see what we can do," but Carl shot him a stern look and took over. After a quick inspection, Carl found the brake pads were nearly worn out, a serious safety hazard. Instead of upselling an expensive fix, he worked with Maria to offer Lisa a discounted rate and a payment plan, even throwing in a free oil check. Lisa left with tears in her eyes, thanking them profusely. When John heard about it during his next visit, he pulled Carl aside. "That's the Matthews way, Carl. You didn't just fix her car, you gave her peace of mind. I'm proud of you." Carl smiled, replying, "Just doing what's right, boss." Slowly, the numbers reflected the shift. Within a month, branch number 7's online reviews climbed to 3.5 stars, with comments praising the new attitude and helpful staff. Revenue stabilized, then grew by 10% as word spread that the branch was under new scrutiny. Customers like Lisa became regulars, sharing their positive experiences on social media. John, observing from both on-site visits and digital dashboards, felt a cautious relief. But he knew this wasn't the end. His undercover mission had been a wake-up call, not just for branch number 7, but for him. Success wasn't about expansion or profits. It was about the people on the front lines, the ones who shaped a customer's first impression. He vowed to stay closer to the ground, visiting branches regularly, even undercover if needed, to ensure his vision never slipped again. Just as branch number 7 seemed to stabilize, a storm hit out of nowhere. 6 weeks after John's intervention, a viral video surfaced online. A frustrated customer, upset over a misunderstanding about a repair quote at branch number 7, had recorded a heated argument with Derek. Despite his improvement, Derek lost his temper under pressure, snapping, "If you don't like it, take your junk car somewhere else." The video exploded, racking up 75,000 views in 48 hours, with comments blasting Matthews Auto Repairs as fake and still trash. John's phone buzzed incessantly with alerts as the company's social media team scrambled to contain the fallout. His first instinct was fury. Derek had been warned, but he remembered his own lesson. React with solutions, not emotion. John called an emergency meeting at branch number 7, arriving to find Derek visibly shaken, aware of the mess had caused. Instead of firing him on the spot, John demanded the full story. Derek admitted he'd been overwhelmed after a 12-hour shift and miscommunicated the quote, escalating the situation unnecessarily. The customer, already agitated, had started recording mid-argument. John listened, then addressed the team. "This video hurts us, no question. It's a black eye on our name, but it's also a chance to show who we are. Derek, you're on probation, another slip, and you're done. But right now, we fix this together." He worked with Maria to track down the customer, offering a sincere apology, a free repair, and a discount on future services. They posted a public response video on the company's social media, with John himself speaking, "We failed this customer, and I'm deeply sorry. We're learning, rebuilding trust, and we've made this right. Hold us accountable. Your feedback matters." To everyone's surprise, the customer accepted the apology and updated their review, praising the follow-up. The viral storm passed, replaced by comments admiring the transparency. Branch number 7 survived the crisis, stronger for facing it head-on, but the challenges didn't end there. 2 months into the turnaround, John received an anonymous tip via the new feedback system. A whistleblower from inside branch number 7 claimed Derek had been skimming small amounts from cash transactions for months, even before John's undercover visit. The tip included dates and approximate amounts, totaling over $2,000. John felt a chill. He'd given Derek a second chance, but this was a betrayal of trust on a different level. He hired a discreet auditor to review the branch's financial records, and within a week, the evidence was clear. Derek had indeed been pocketing cash, often from vulnerable customers who paid without requesting detailed receipts. The auditor also found sloppy bookkeeping that suggested Derek had grown complacent under minimal oversight before John's crackdown. Confronting Derek privately in his office, John laid out the evidence, his voice heavy with disappointment. "I gave you a chance to turn things around, Derek. I believed you could change. But this stealing from customers, from me, from your team, it's unforgivable. You're terminated, effective immediately, and I'm considering legal action for restitution." Derek, pale and trembling, offered no defense, only a mumbled apology as he gathered his things and left under security escort. John addressed the staff afterward, transparent about the theft, without naming Derek directly. "Trust is our currency. If anyone else is cutting corners or crossing lines, come clean now or ill find out. We're rebuilding this branch on honesty, period." The team, shaken but relieved at the swift action, rallied behind Carl and Maria, who stepped up to fill the leadership gap. With Derek gone, John promoted Carl to branch manager and Maria to deputy, recognizing their unwavering dedication during the tumultuous months. He also implemented a new financial oversight system across all branches, ensuring cash transactions were digitally logged with customer signatures to prevent future discrepancies. To rebuild trust within branch number 7, John introduced weekly team huddles led by Carl, where staff could voice concerns or suggest improvements without fear of retaliation. He also rolled out a Customer First Award, given monthly to employees who exemplified the company's values, complete with a $200 bonus and public recognition on the company's social media. Carl was the first recipient, celebrated for his consistent kindness and professionalism. Over the next 6 months, branch number 7 underwent a remarkable transformation. The physical space was revamped, fresh paint on the walls, new signage, and a cleaned-up parking lot signaled a renewed commitment to quality. Inside, the atmosphere shifted. Mechanics greeted customers with smiles, and the front desk, now staffed by a rotating team trained by Maria, became a hub of warmth rather than hostility. Online reviews for the branch climbed steadily, reaching 4.2 stars by the end of the year, with comments like, "Night and day difference. They treated me like I mattered," and finally, "A garage I can trust again." Revenue not only recovered but grew by 15% beyond pre-crisis levels, driven by returning customers and word-of-mouth referrals. Stories like Lisa's, the single mother whose brake repair came with kindness and a payment plan, spread through the community, reinforcing Matthews Auto Repairs as a name synonymous with care. John didn't stop at branch number 7. The lessons from his undercover mission and the subsequent crises prompted him to reevaluate oversight across his entire chain. He implemented the QR code feedback system company-wide, allowing customers at every location to rate their experience instantly, with results tied directly to branch performance metrics. He also began a personal tradition of quarterly undercover checks, visiting random branches in disguise to ensure standards remained high. During one such visit to branch number 3, he discovered a minor issue with upselling unnecessary services and addressed it before it escalated, proving the value of staying connected to the ground level. "I'm not just the CEO," he told his executive team. "I'm the first customer every day. If I wouldn't accept the service, no one else should have to." Late one evening, nearly a year after his initial undercover mission, John sat alone on his home office, a glass of untouched coffee cooling on his desk. He stared at the same framed photo of himself and his father outside the first garage in 1998. That day, his father had said, "Son, a business isn't brick and mortar, it's people. Lose sight of them and you've lost everything." John had nodded then, but only now did he truly understand. Branch number 7's near collapse wasn't just about Derek's failures or a toxic culture. It was about his own absence as a leader. He'd been so focused on expansion, opening new branches, chasing bigger profits, that he'd neglected the heartbeat of his company, the daily interactions between staff and customers. The complaints, the viral video, the theft, they were symptoms of his own blind spots. But the journey had also shown him the power of redemption. Carl's quiet integrity, Mariah's steady support, even the customers like Lisa who gave second chances, these were the pillars that held Matthews Auto Repairs together. John realized that success wasn't a finish line. It was a series of choices made every day, in every handshake, every repair, every apology. He jotted down a new personal mission on a sticky note and pinned it above his desk. Stay close, listen first, fix fast. It became his mantra, a reminder to never let distance grow between him and the people who made his dream possible. The story of branch number 7's turnaround didn't stay confined to Matthews Auto Repairs. At a local business conference in late 2025, John was invited to speak about leadership and customer service. Standing before a crowd of entrepreneurs, he shared his undercover experience, the crises that followed, and the lessons learned. "I thought I knew my business because I knew the numbers," he admitted. "But numbers don't tell you how a customer feels when they're turned away. I had to become one of them to see the truth. Leadership isn't about being at the top, it's about being on the ground, where the real work happens." His speech, raw and honest, resonated deeply, earning a standing ovation and later going viral on professional networking platforms. Inspired by the response, John launched a community initiative called Trust in Motion, partnering with other local businesses to offer free workshops on customer service and ethical practices for small enterprises. He brought in Carl and Maria as guest speakers, showcasing how frontline employees can drive change. The program also provided discounted repair services for low-income families, ensuring no one was left stranded due to financial hardship. One participant, a struggling single father named Marcus, brought his car to branch number 7 for a subsidized fix and later wrote John a heartfelt letter. "Your team didn't just repair my engine, they repaired my hope. I can get to work now because of you. Thank you." John framed the letter next to his father's photo, a reminder of why he fought so hard to save branch number 7. As 2026 dawned, Matthews Auto Repairs faced its ultimate test. A major competitor, a national chain with deep pockets, opened a mega garage just 2 blocks from branch number 7, offering rock-bottom prices and flashy promotions. Customers began trickling away, lured by deals too good to pass up. John watched the numbers dip slightly, but instead of panicking, he called a meeting with Carl and Maria. "They've got money, but we've got heart," he said. "Let's remind people why they chose us in the first place." Together, they launched a Loyalty Matters campaign, offering personalized service packages, free vehicle safety checks, and a community event where families could learn basic car maintenance from the mechanics. Carl even organized a Meet the Team Day where customers could chat with staff over coffee and donuts, putting faces to the name Matthews. The competitors' prices were unbeatable, but branch number 7's personal touch proved irreplaceable. Lisa, Marcus, and dozens of regulars returned, bringing friends and family. One elderly customer, Mr. Hargrove, who'd been with Matthews since the first garage, told Carl, "I don't care if it's cheaper down the street. You know my old Chevy better than I do, and you've never steered me wrong." By mid-2026, branch number 7's customer base stabilized, and while they didn't match the competitors' volume, their profit margins held strong due to loyalty and trust. John, reviewing the quarterly report, smiled for the first time in weeks. "We didn't just survive," he told Carl over the phone. "We proved our worth. That's the legacy I want." As the years unfolded, branch number 7 became a flagship of resilience within Matthews Auto Repairs. Carl remained manager, mentoring new hires with the same patience he'd shown Jim that fateful day. Maria spearheaded community outreach, ensuring the branch stayed rooted in the neighborhood. John, now approaching 60, never forgot the lessons of 2025. His undercover mission, the viral video crisis, the betrayal of trust, and the competitive threat, they all shaped him into a leader who valued presence over prestige. He often reflected on customers like Lisa, Marcus, and Mr. Hargrove, whose stories reminded him why he started this journey. "Every customer has a story," he told his staff at a company-wide meeting in 2027. "Our job is to make sure their story with us ends on a good note, no matter how it starts." For viewers of this tale, the lessons are manifold. First, leadership isn't about titles or profits. It's about showing up, listening, and caring, even when no one's watching. John's willingness to step into a customer's shoes revealed truths no report could capture. Second, trust is fragile but rebuildable. Mistakes like Derek's or the viral video can wound a business, but transparency and accountability can heal it. Third, community matters. Businesses thrive not on transactions, but on relationships, as seen in branch number 7's loyalty campaign. Finally, challenges are inevitable, whether it's internal betrayal or external competition. but facing them with integrity turns obstacles into stepping stones. So, what about you? Have you ever gone undercover to uncover a hidden truth, or faced a moment where trust hung in the balance? Maybe you fought to rebuild something you believed in against all odds. Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If this journey of grit, betrayal, and redemption resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life lessons, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next tale. Until then, remember, trust isn't given, it's built one choice at a time.